So the question was asked in the chat, for those who were just tuning in, what my take is on various leftists who are praising the Capitol riots, the insurrection, the whatever you want to call it, because, and we'll go ahead and scroll up to the actual thing real quick, because the axioms that it's based off of are not necessarily incorrect, at least from a lefty perspective. How do you feel about those on the left that are praising the Capitol takeover because ACAB, all cops are bad or all cops are bastards, and then the American government is bad, which is not necessarily a wrong take. The American government is certainly, at the very least, not adequate. Here's the thing. I cannot, in good faith, praise the Capitol riots. And here's why. Because if this were lefties, say, who were not going in an attempt to murder, but were going in an attempt to actually protest, like say Trump had actually pushed through with his narrative that there was election fraud and managed to create a situation where he, say by declaring martial law, had managed to stay in as president. Protesting that would be protesting a single person doing a single myriad of shitty things. Then that would be valid. Not only is it based on a handful of axioms that I'm okay with, but it is also based and predicated on an actual very good reason. What reason did the riots happen here? What reason did the Capitol get invaded? What reason did we have bodies pile up during that? The reason for that is that their favorite person didn't get to stay in office because he lost by 6 million of the popular votes and several double digits of the Electoral College votes. He lost both the popular and the electoral vote. You lost fairly in a democratic system that had more fact-checking done to its individual voter turnouts than any other election. An election that you rigged against yourself by being an idiot in office and also saying to your constituents, some of which who could not safely go to the polls, don't do mail-in voting. And then you were so confused that the mail-in votes were the ones that largely favored Biden. Holy shit. I cannot get behind a movement that sees all of that and then goes, nah, I didn't like how that worked out, so I'm going to throw a temper tantrum by breaking into a federal building. That's not the same thing as a BLM demonstration that is working under the exact same axioms. Because a BLM demonstration could be working under the axioms, all cops are bad, or at the very least, police reform is necessary, and American government is bad, or at the very least, inadequate. It's working under the same axioms. But the motivation for a BLM demonstration, even if it were to be had at the Capitol, like it was had at the Capitol when President Trump decided to be the bunker boy. When that happened, it was in protest of being shot. It was in protest of being attacked. It was retaliation. These are not retaliation. This is not somebody going, hey, I've been treated unfairly, now it's time to stand up for myself. This is people who LARP being treated unfairly, who are actual child-minded individuals who didn't get their cookie. They didn't get their favorite cookie, and they didn't get to stick it in their favorite cookie jar, and now they have to whine and scream and yell and shriek and get multiple members of themselves killed, put on no-fly lists, and everything. All because they wanted to have the biggest temper tantrum in the last 10 years in American history. Now, I understand that there are tons of people on the right who are going to be memeing this, who are going to go, nuh-uh, these are the same thing, horseshoe theory. But again, even with these working under the same axioms, the motivating factor, the catalyst For those who don't know what a catalyst is, for those who didn't take chemistry, if you have all the chemical pieces to have a reaction, you still need a catalyst to start it. These are working under the same chemical pieces, the same axioms. But what's the catalyst that starts it? One, please don't shoot me. The other, orange man good. That's it. That's the fundamental difference, and that's why I can't get behind this. Leftists who are praising this? Leftists who are praising this just because they stormed a Capitol? Several walls had to be built in that Capitol because of lefties and liberals who were pushing during the major BLM stuff last year. Praise that. Nobody came in with a noose during that, trying to murder politicians. Nobody broke into a federal building under pretense that they were going to find where Nancy Pelosi was specifically so that they could do, well, let's not talk about that live on stream. That's not a demonstration at that point. That's a fucking attack. And to any leftists that are sitting here simping over this shit, who are sitting here happy that this happened, why? Is it, at this point, you're no better than a goddamn tanky. Because what you're celebrating isn't the actual underlying theory of what they're engaging in. What you're celebrating is the aesthetic. You're celebrating the look. You're celebrating the feel. But you're not celebrating what they're actually fighting for. If your allies are white supremacists, are neo-Nazis, are MAGA radicals, if those are your allies, then maybe you should try to figure out how the fuck you landed in that room. What did you do, and what did you say, and what did you think that got you to the point where these were the people that you considered good to be around? How did you get to that point? I cannot celebrate this kind of thing because it is not in line with humanist values. It's not in line with values and tenets of democracy. I am a democratic socialist. I want the workers to own the means of production, and I want them to be able to elect the people that lead them instead of being abused by CEOs. I am pro-democracy. I am not going to ally myself with people who are comfortable with the idea of destroying federal land on the pretense that they are angry that democracy did what democracy does. After all the damage that Trump has done, you have to ignore the material reality of the conditions that you're in, live in a fantasy world where everything that he has done and said is okay, and then be okay with harming your fellow man so that you can get your favorite person who doesn't even know you exist. The most he can do is call you special. But not you. The movement, the body. If you were to split off from that body of people, suddenly you wouldn't be special, but you were in a giant group of people. He didn't even know your name. And these are the people that I'm supposed to be celebrating? Fuck that. No. I don't like the American government as it is. I think it needs to be reformed greatly. I think there's a shit ton of stuff that needs to happen to make the American government function better for the people it's supposed to represent. In an ideal world, the government should work in a way where it is not just by the people for the people, but it is literally subservient to the people. Politicians should not be subservient to corporations and lobbyists. They should be subservient to individual people. But you don't get that by pushing for a dictatorship or a monarchy. That's how you get authoritarianism. I'm not going to ally myself with that. I can't ally myself with that. So as for what I think about people who think that this is a good idea? No. I don't think that allying yourself with neo-Nazis, white supremacists, MAGA LARPers, QAnons, I don't think allying myself with them is a good idea. And I do not think celebrating the people who do that is a good idea either. It's not good for optics, and it's not good for the future of any movement that is supposed to include humanitarian values. That's what I think.